Hello, this is Celeste of Astrology by Celeste. I'm an astrologer, a teacher, a coach, and an intuitive, and I'm here with a two for today. You're getting how my prediction showed up from the Mercury retrograde that went from Sagittarius to Scorpio, as well as a forecast of the new moon in Sagittarius. I'm calling this new moon in Sagittarius animal instincts. We're really going to be seeing the bestial nature of Sagittarius during this time. This new moon is at 28 degrees of Sagittarius. So we're almost to the last degree of the sign. The last degree is 29 degrees. It's called the anaretic degree. It's a degree of crisis and decay. It holds all the energy. Like 0 is newness, 15 is the middle, 29 is the end. And all the energy within the sign is what's held. It's a very karmic degree in that last degree. And it's trying to express all of its nature before moving into another sign. The other bestial signs are Taurus, Leo, Aries, and Capricorn. I think I got them all with Sagittarius, the five, just so you know, where there is this impulse to act out of more of that animal instinct. Like Taurus is a very sensual sign. There's this desire to seek pleasure. With Sagittarius, it's this desire to seek experiences. Star Trek is a Sagittarius type show where you go where no one has gone before. These are some key words related to the sign. It's adventurous, philosophical, funny. Some of the funniest people are Sagittarius. It's the storyteller who can use words to take us on a journey. And it doesn't have to be words, it can also be images, art, whatever. Take us on a journey. It's inspirational, funny, can be very straightforward. The glint of Sagittarius is half man, half horse, and it's pulling the arrow back and it has a destination in mind and is shooting that arrow to go to that place. It's a mutable sign, but a mutable fire. Sagittarius energy can singe. Now, in the shadow, it can be tactless and say things that leave people feeling like their hair is blown back and like, how did I get here? Why did you say that to me? Yes, can be argumentative, hot-headed, careless, and restless. Very dogmatic. This is my way of thinking. This is my philosophy, how I see things, and unwavering. People with a South Node in Sagittarius, part of their journey to get to the North Node in Gemini is to take in additional facts in order to widen one's world's view from what one thinks is the way things should be. Overindulgent. Why one cookie when I can have 50? Why one drink when I can have 10? That sort of thing can also be part of Sagittarius energy. Non-committal, not wanting to be pinned down. These are some archetypes: the storyteller, the comedian, the professor, the know-it-all, the wanderer, the loudmouth, and the blowhard. Messy AF. Some Sagittariuses are just so messy. Sometimes it's their physical environment or just the way they conduct themselves. I love this energy. I can't lie. So here were my predictions for the Mercury retrograde in Sagittarius. And we have now just exited the shadow of this retrograde. It entered its shadow October 21st, went retrograde November 9th to 29th, 6 Sagittarius to 20 Scorpio, direct November 29th, and exited the shadow on December 16th. So this area of each of our charts got 3 coats of paint. This was my forecast that we would be seeing a lot of nostalgia for these dance crazes, remakes, and movies. That comes from Jupiter being in the 5th house retrograde. Cancer is very nostalgic. Jupiter makes everything bigger. Drag racing, that's Mercury, Mars in the 9th house. But Mercury rules cars. Mars hit the gas. Sagittarius go like that arrow. conflict overseas and battle mistakes. The United States is a Sagittarius rising. This Mercury Mars falls in our 12th house. So that to me meant self undoing. And the 10 Commandments, Sagittarius philosophy, has to do with religion. Protest songs go or dance goes viral. Pop star and athlete secrets revealed. I was thinking about Taylor Swift and her boyfriend with this square to alcohol. Pregnancy revealed. I mentioned JD Vance, his 10th house, so something public about him. Oh, and I forgot to look up what happened to Obama. So, in terms of the conflict overseas, battlefield mistakes, the U.S. pulled up on a Mexican beach and put a sign on there saying it was the Department of Defense property, and it's Mexico's Playa Baghdad. The universe has jokes. Sagittarius, Mercury was in Sagittarius, the trickster in the sign of overseas. We invaded Iraq and all of this. Anyway, Mexico came and pulled up this sign, and they said it was a mistake based on maps. You can look up this story. It's so in line with Mercury retrograde. There was a measurement mistake, and Mercury is in the sign of its detriment in Sagittarius. 2 first responders killed, and that was November 21st, where the story, so it happened right around then in the official retrograde. 2 first responders killed at a crash at an Oklahoma drag racing event. This was November 1st, so we were in the shadow period of the retrograde. The federal judge ordered Fort Worth, I don't know what ISDs are, to remove the 10 Commandment displays November 18th in the retrograde. And the viral song that AI generated, We Are Charlie Kirk's song, topped the Spotify charts after going viral. This was published on November 20th. So this is about the podcast person who was killed at the lunar eclipse, a couple of days after the lunar eclipse in Pisces. He was seen as a leader of the right-wing movement, particularly with children on college campuses. And as the sun hit the south node, he was murdered and turned into a martyr, Pisces, for the people in the MAGA movement. Usha Vance showed up without her wedding ring on right after Uranus in the sky was at 29 degrees opposite her moon in Scorpio at 28 degrees. Looking at her chart, I think I looked at her chart in the last video. Ain't no way that woman is going to be disrespected the way her husband has disrespected her and not have something to say. She showed up without her wedding ring. Mercury rules the hands. Taylor Swift, there was all these bots doing stuff about Taylor Swift when her album, like I did a video or at the wrong screen anyway about that scandal. But anyway, a story came out during, I believe the story was dropped by The Guardian during the retrograde period of the Mercury retrograde about how bots were trying to destroy her reputation. She has her Mars in Scorpio at 26 degrees of Scorpio. So Uranus coming back for her Mars by opposition outside of herself from other people. This Cardi B, this is so messy in terms of her ex, who she has some kids by, is trying to claim that her child she just had in November was his because they're still married and he just wants money from her. It's very sad. Cardi B is a force to be reckoned with. I believe she was born at a full moon. She is here to live out loud. I get such a kick out of her. And she just recently is over $100 million involved with some charity that's going to be helping orphans and kids in the foster system. It's a beautiful thing she's doing. So anyway, her ex, well, they're still married because he's trying to block the divorce. He is really going after her. Okay, now we're going to get to the new moon. Please follow my channel, subscribe here on YouTube. I'd love to read your comments. What house does Sagittarius fall into? Do you know what aspects it's making? Anything you want to say about the Sagittarius new moon? Any intentions you want to set? You can go to the link in my bio or just go over to astrologybyceleste.com. I'll put it in the show notes. I have created a lunar planning guide for 2026 that will help you work with each of these moons intentionally, as well as it gives you all of the key transits in 2026. It is going to be so helpful to stay grounded as we move through this big year. Yes, it is. Okay. So that's called the Lunar Planning Guide 2026. You can go to astrologybyceleste.com. I'll put it down here. Also, I am an affiliate for the Wise Skies calendar that puts all the transits on your phone. It is amazing. My friend and collaborator, Tiffany Herlick, does that. So both of those tools will really help you. The Lunar Planning Guide is something I created, and it's been in the works for many years. People have been asking. It is finally here. Okay, here is this new moon. The new moon, Friday, December 19th. 8:43 p.m. in Washington, D.C. This is the chart. It's a Leo rising, just like the president. Leo is the sign of celebrity. It's the sign of royalty. It rules the heart. It is ruled by the sun. The leader archetype, the moon, is the people archetype. The new moon, where they come together, seeding some kind of new start in Sagittarius at 28 degrees. This is on the Galactic Center, the center of our universe. Prepare for the Milky Way. Think about the Milky Way kind of image. Floods of information can be coming to you. The Galactic Center is about 26 to 28 Sagittarius. Yesterday, I got all this deluge of information that had been kind of hidden from myself about myself, my relationship, all kinds of things. It was almost overwhelming. Some thoughts from my subconscious came into my conscious view. Here is this new moon. It's conjunct Venus, the sun, and Mars are all moving together, and they're going to come together January 6th through January 9th. This is going to be something to watch. Yes. But the sun, our ego, our identity, the moon, our subconscious, seeding something. What house is this in your chart? What do you want to bring to light? Venus rules pleasure, relationships, beauty. Mars, how we take action, sex, energy, drive. Mars is exalted in the sign of Capricorn. Jupiter is exalted in the sign of Cancer. Mars and Jupiter are moving towards an opposition in January. Mercury is on Antares, a royal fixed star. It's intense. It will go to extremes in ways that are unnecessary and uncalled for. There's a guy in Taiwan who threw smoke bombs all over the place and then pulled out a knife and attacked people. It was horrible. He's dead, I believe. He got caught or he's dead. So you can see Mercury's on Antares. Acumen is focus. What are you going to focus on at this new moon? Make intentions, write them on a list. Mercury's in Sagittarius, which could be like all over the place. How are you going to keep yourself focused so that you don't miss out on this Mars and Capricorn energy? The fifth house is the house of entertainment. It has associations with marriage and fertility in terms of mundane astrology, the rules of the country, and pleasure. The fifth house is a house of joy, naturally, and it is in a square separating from Saturn. So things that happened in the past that were Saturnian, boundaries, limits, hardship, control, square Neptune and Pisces, the planet of illusion and delusions. The fifth house and the eighth house both have associations with sex. And this square, we're seeing Epstein file stuff. Congress released a whole bunch more pictures, but the Trump administration, they were due today to have to release the more of the files to Congress. They have delayed that. In the United States chart, we have a midheaven at 1 Libra. That's the president and the executive branch. Venus in the US chart rules the president, and it's squaring Saturn in this chart. And we know we're getting all kinds of information of him, his best friend, and the things that were going on that Lolita Express and the island. See how it's squaring Saturn? There is delays. So I think the files will be delayed a week, possibly 2, but the full moon in Cancer is at 13 degrees, the degree of the USA sun in the Sibley chart, as well as the fixed star Sirius, the shining one, the scorcher. So I think we'll be getting that information more by the full moon. They can redact all they want. They're not stopping this train from leaving the station. Yes, yes. And see how the South Node is on the second house? A big thing coming. Jeffrey Epstein is a Capricorn rising. So Aquarius is his second house of finances. I think we'll find out about his finances at the next solar eclipse, which is 3 months from now. We had a solar eclipse at 29 degrees of Virgo on September 21st, I believe. Right. Now we're at new moon, halfway between the eclipses. The next eclipse is at 28 degrees of Aquarius. So we're in the, so stories rise. There's a culmination here. There's going to be something announced by the waxing crescent moon. This may be related to the Epstein files or the war in Venezuela, which attempts to distract from the Epstein files and take their resources. And then there's going to be a new story that rises, and then the culminating news story at the next eclipse. So really pay attention to what's happening now. Where were you in September? Where were you now? What stories were rising up? For me, I was dealing with my poor little doggy's health. And now I need to deal with my health because I would not walk 3 to 5 times a day. One of my intentions is to really focus back on exercise because for whatever reason, I've fallen off on my exercise stuff. And I am not becoming big as a house. My progressed moon is in Taurus and Jupiter in Cancer. As a Cancer rising, I am not blowing up like a hot air balloon. No, I'm not. Also, the moon is out of bounds as well as Mars. People are going to be acting wild. At Turning Point USA, they're having an event. And Tucker Carlson, he is someone to watch for this new moon cycle because this is squaring his nodes. See, his new moon, the new moon is squaring his south node and his north node from his 6th house. Oh, of things that go wrong with your health, routines, daily rituals, all this kind of stuff. I'm interested to see how this shows up for him. He was talking about how it's bad Muslims are being demonized at this event. He was going on and on about replacement theory on Fox News day and night for years. So I don't know exactly what's up with him. I need to look at his chart more carefully, but I hope he watches his back. Uranus is really near his sun, and his sun is on Algol. So he needs to be very mindful of his safety. These are the moon phase families of this cycle. The new moon, I always post these every week. Make sure you're following me and you'll see these. And sometimes the dates, like to the date, there'll be a story in your life, this story that goes along for this time. I got to move because I'm going to be late for my lunch date. Anyway, I have been talking about how This is a big story about the Epstein files. It's not just about the sexual abuse of these girls. It's about other governments interfering with and controlling the United States, the things the wealthy are doing, how they're controlled, all this kind of stuff. Mercury retrograde in Scorpio. This was when the went from Sagittarius to Scorpio. This was when Congress voted to release the files, but now they're being delayed. I need to write up these for the next moon cycles. I just haven't had time. But the fifth house rules entertainment. These are some of the stories that have just been seeded that there's new starts during this new moon. The Kennedy Center is adding Trump's name to the White House. Now, this new moon was square Neptune. So that gives, I'm also calling it's the floods of information, floods of emotion, all this kind of stuff. So this is a fifth house topic. Leo rising, the new moon in Sagittarius in the fifth house. He has no right to do this, but he's doing it anyway. He's putting his name on this bill, but this is the least of our problems. TikTok, this deal has been done. So now TikTok is a fifth house. People sit on it all day entertaining themselves. That's another fifth house entertainment thing. But it also has to do with the eighth house. The government's going to use TikTok to watch people, propagandize, all that kind of stuff. That's the eighth house. The new images from the Epstein files, fifth house in terms of sex, eighth house, the bringing up the shadows, the secrets, all of that kind of stuff. Images include scribbled sentences on a woman, ID cards, the passport of a Ukrainian, and Erica Kirk. There's a big story about her charity getting kicked out of Ukraine because people went missing and all kinds of stuff. So that may tie back to her at some point. They were required by law to release the files today. They're delayed. They said they're not doing it. This is what was released yesterday. Pisces rules the feet. So this new moon in Sagittarius is squaring Neptune and Pisces. So we're seeing this image written on, and there's other things written on the body, but this is so in line with Sagittarius. The Lolita Express is the name of his airplane. Sagittarius rules long distance travel. It has associations with that. Sagittarius, half man, half horse. We know from Stormy Daniels, it looks like a little mushroom. And then this list showing the prostitution. So this is something that was released. This text feels very Mercury and Sagittarius. Lawlessness, writing on a list, procurement, prostitution. These are some of the themes. So sorry, I could go on, but I've got to go. This new moon is a great time to pay attention. What are your belief systems? What house does Sagittarius fall in your chart? If you have anything in the late degrees of mutable placements, Gemini, Virgo, Sagittarius, or Pisces, there could be a big story. Pay attention to what comes to your conscious attention. Things may start flooding in that you'd rather push down. Can you just let them come up because it's meant to happen at this time? Set new moon intentions. You can I have a free guide that help you walk through, and then as well get the lunar planning guide. Please like, subscribe, and put a comment. And what has popped out at you? Anything you want to share about anything I have presented. Take good care, and I'll be back.